Good morning, everybody. I just want to make a few comments. I'm gonna leave most of it to Scott, but we do just want to kind of officially announce that we're beginning the final phase of this multi-million-dollar project, and it's kind of neat that it's starting. We're beginning the final phase in the 30th anniversary year of the museum. So that's great. This museum has served us well. But I can tell you, we got so many good things happening, you just won't believe it. And I can't wait until it's all finished next year sometime, and we can maybe cut that ribbon again and have a grand reopening. But it's going to be bigger and better in every way. So thank you for being with us today. You know, the space that we're in now will be, a big multi-purpose room. Where we can we can handle museum programs in here, but also we'll be able to seat, for a seated formal dinner. We could, handle something in the range of 250 people, up to 400 people or so in a meeting environment. So I think this is something that was needed in the Pooler area. This will be the largest room that's available. Of course, for the museum to use, but also for industry that wants to have meetings here, for individuals that want to do wedding parties or whatever. This will be the go-to place, and it's going to introduce a lot of people to this museum. So we feel great about that. I want to talk, just a few minutes about. We got so many great exhibits coming in. You just won't, I've seen a little bit of it, just enough to know that it's going to be unbelievable. But we're having a lot of the permanent exhibits. All the exhibits will be redone in the museum. A lot of the materials will be reused, but it'll all be updated, redone. But we have so many good things new that are coming in. And of course, all of you know that the two main heavy bombers of World War II that the 8th Air Force used was the B-17 Flying Fortress and then the B-24 Liberator. And the Liberators didn't seem to survive in the quantities that the B-17s did. So it took years, but we finally got the B-17, and our crew here has rebuilt it, made it one of the finest in the whole country. And we have tried and tried to get a B-24, and of course that is a reality now. Some of the volunteers are headed out this weekend to Shreveport, where Barksdale Air Force Base is, and they're going to start phase 1 of the disassembly of that airplane. But that one will be taken apart. It'll go to a really good paint shop that's going to paint it all in pieces, and then it'll be transported to Savannah or Pooler, where we'll take some wall panels off and bring it in and reassemble it right on the floor where it will be displayed. So, and that should be very early next year when we actually bring it back inside and put it together. And of course, by then most of our exhibits and all will already be reworked. So it'll really be something to see. Other exhibits that I'm personally excited about, we have in the back a 1902 German boxcar that was used to transport American POWs within Germany, and that will be something that people is real and they can touch it. But we're going to have great exhibits. I'm excited too. We're going to have a POW exhibit that's going to be second to none anywhere in the world. So much good material, but that exhibit is going to be really something else, and this boxcar will be part of it. We're going to have a German 88 millimeter flat gun. And of course, they had thousands of those things, and they were probably the best piece of artillery made during World War II. They were certainly deadly. 8th Air Force lost more aircraft to the German 88s than they did to the Luftwaffe. So, it's a big part of the story. And we'll have one sitting here so people can know more about them and understand what it was. And of course, hundreds and hundreds of objects, large and small from the museum's collection will go into these new exhibits. It's going to be really, really awesome. And of course, one that I'm excited about personally, the 8th Air Force lost over 26,000 men in combat during the war. And I've always felt like we have once a year, when we have flags of the fallen, we put 26,000 flags in the Memorial Garden, and it's just awesome to see. But, once a year, I think we had a fitting memorial to those guys, a fitting remembrance, and that's it. But in this new museum, we're going to have an exit. Before you go out, you'll go through an exhibit. It'll just make you say, wow, it's going to be in honor of the 26,000 plus that gave their lives. And I do know that there's going to be a dog tag in there for every one of those guys. So when you see 26,000 dog tags and the other things that we already have that are going to go into that exhibit, it'll leave you in the right mood, when you leave. So really going to be awesome. When this multi-million-dollar investment will transform the museum, and when it's completed next year, it will be among the very finest museums in the world. So, a lot of hard work has gone into this, and the museum leadership is pleased, to make this gift back to the people, the community of Pooler and Savannah and Chatham County. We couldn't have done this without support from those folks, and we're so proud of this. And of course, we're also giving this, dedicating it to the veterans of the 8th Air Force, current and past. So the 8th is still out there taking care of us. So there is a personal side to this story. I came along right after World War II, and my father was a sergeant, a gunner on a B-17. He trained with a 10-man crew here in the U.S., and they shipped him over, and they were assigned to the 390th Bomb Group out of Framlingham, England. He was in the 570th Squadron. When I was younger, you'd say, well, y'all were heroes, and of course, most of you that have been around those veterans all know their response, I just did my job. The heroes are the ones that didn't come back. They were that 26,000 just in the 8th Air Force. He would tell you some of the funny things that happened, during his tour, because you always got a clown. One guy in the crew is always the clown, and entertaining them. But as I got older and could understand a little more, he would explain a lot of the things to me. I do know that they flew two missions, on June the 6th, 1944 in support of D-Day. He said those went pretty well because they didn't see any German fighters and didn't even see much flak where they were. 4 days later, their formation strayed over a high density flak area. His co-pilot, Lieutenant Robert J. Watson, was killed instantly by a piece of flak that came through the cockpit. And of course, they made it back that day. And a few days later, in the back of one of the old deuce and a half trucks, made the trip over to the American Cemetery there outside of Cambridge, and laid him to rest. And I've been able to half a dozen times go back and pay my respects there. Later in his tour, normally a squadron would put up 9 airplanes on a mission, and they'd fly 3 squadrons for the group. And but on this particular day, they were part of a big group that went to Dusseldorf, and over the target area, one of the planes was hit actually in the bomb bay, setting off their bomb load. And of course, it caused such a tremendous explosion that the chain reaction, they lost 6 planes just almost instantly right over the target. You know, set off other bombs. It was such a huge concussion. So they lost 6 of their planes over the target. One of them went down basically under control in the target area, you know, and the other 2, of course, headed for home. And one of those couldn't make it. When they got over Belgium, there was an American base that had been set up, and they were one of them was able to get into a friendly base and make an emergency landing. And of course, the 4th, my father was on that one, the Liberty Bell. It made it on home. So one plane out of the whole squadron made it home. And but those guys paid a high price for the freedoms that we enjoy. So thank you for all of you for the support and efforts that you put into this museum. I would like to close by thanking, you know, we had over 280 donors, corporate, foundation, and individuals to our maximum effort campaign. And of course, when we started, it's about, I think, 5 years ago, our initial goals to do this project was like $10 million, which was a lofty goal. So we had to work hard to get that. But, you know, this thing kept getting put off and delayed, and for different reasons. And of course, construction prices went through the roof. And so anyway, we finally had to bump that goal up to $18 million. And I would just like to be able to congratulate everybody and say, report that we have hit 18. So we have 18 million. You know, I like to say too, a special thanks to all of you volunteers that have helped make this happen, all of our museum staff, and of course, especially the people in Chatham County. This museum couldn't be what it was today if the people of this county hadn't supported us financially and with their interest and presence. So thanks to all of you for that. And with that, I think we have a short movie, little video that we're going to show, and then after that, I'll turn it over to Scott Lair, who has done a wonderful job as our president and CEO. Thank you for being here.
Maximum effort significantly improves the museum and its ability to carry out its mission.
The campaign was originally conceived as a means of modernizing, expanding, and sustaining the museum into the future.
5,000 additional square feet to properly curate its growing permanent collection, classrooms to educate young people, some 14,000 square feet to present the history of the 8th Air Force, new gallery space, and more importantly, to present the lessons in courage, duty, service, and sacrifice embedded in that history.
It's a tremendous honor for us to tell these stories about these young men. Basically, we begin by listening. We call it discovery. So we spend hours and hundreds of hours in research, just trying to learn what the staff and board and these volunteers all know.
It was important for us to modernize the museum, to make those exhibits within the framework of the building more interesting and interactive for those who come to the museum, particularly young people.
We've got to turn that into a story that will capture visitors' real interest. We've designed this new exhibit based on chapters. Over the past 2 years, we've done literally hundreds and hundreds of renderings and plans to share with the board and the museum and the volunteers to just make sure we're getting this story right. At the heart of the story are the young men that just jumped into the fight, did what they needed to do at that time. It's just an incredible piece of history that I don't think a lot of people know about the 8th Air Force, and it's about time they do.
Good morning, friends, supporters, leaders of the museum. It's good to be with all of you. $18 million. I suspect 4 or 5 years ago, if the museum had announced that goal, folks would have said we had lost our minds, and most of us would have agreed with that assessment. But it's always been about a $15 million project. The scope, the needs, the improvements, around $15 million. And in fact, 6 years ago, that's the number that was tested with a feasibility study. Went out and tested, and it came back, the study came back and said, looks like $10 million. So about 2/3 of that number. But here we are, 5, 6 years later, 299 donors later, and we've exceeded that goal by a full 80%. So again, $18 million. So thanks to all of you who have been a part of this effort, whether you are a donor, a leader, a volunteer, or all of those things. It's all made possible because of you, and we're certainly grateful leadership here at the museum. I've had a number of people ask me why the success, and my answer has always been because every dollar that's been raised is going into mission fulfillment. As Don said, the space we're in now will be used for museum programs, purpose-built for things like lectures, symposia, author talks, book signings, film screenings. We now have to do that in nooks and crannies around the museum. We'll have a space dedicated for that. In fact, we'll have 2 spaces because this room can be divided in 2. Purpose-built space for programming, 2 new classrooms for history and STEM education, and above me, behind me, almost 5,000 square feet to continue to curate the growing collection of the museum. This museum is home to the largest, most comprehensive, most significant collection of 8th Air Force material in the world. And we simply have run out of space. We've been collecting for 30 years, and we've run out of space, and now we have 5,000 additional square feet that should meet our needs in terms of collection and curation for another 10 years. So there's another campaign coming. We'll leave that to the next group of leaders, though. And then, of course, what will be most conspicuous to the public will be, as Don mentioned, the new permanent exhibitions here at the museum that will showcase the German boxcar, the B-24, and just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of other objects that tell the remarkable story of the 8th Air Force in World War II. Our donors have come from all over the country. They 299 in addition to the local support to make 300 gifts total to the campaign. The $4.5 million that got the campaign started in SPLOST 7 money, and now 299 additional gifts from individuals, foundations, and corporations that have invested in the vision for this organization going forward. 30 years, there's been one constant, and that's the mission. That's to preserve and present the history of our nation's most remarkable Air Force, the mighty 8th. We now will be able to do that much better with these improved resources, improvements to the physical plant, financial resources, and the program that we are bringing forth to you that we will unveil next year. All of it comes down really to those lessons in courage and duty, service and sacrifice. those lessons that are probably more important today than when the museum opened 30 years ago. And you, the donors, have given us the opportunity to tell those stories in greatly enhanced ways through compelling, immersive, and engaging exhibitions that we will unveil next year. I'm grateful to all of you who are here today. Thank you for your presence. Thank you for your support in the many ways in which you express that support. And for more information on the campaign, there's a QR code on the screen here. If you would scan that, particularly media, there's a full media kit on the campaign, on the new exhibits, renderings on many of the new exhibits, and all the other information you will need to have a detailed account of what's going forward. We very much look forward to inviting you back next year for a ribbon cutting on your new museum. Thank you all for being here today for this momentous occasion, and we look forward to seeing you soon and often in the coming days here at the museum. Thanks for being with us. Yeah.
Do you want them to invite them to see the boxcar?
Oh, yeah. Okay.